Fala galera, André Rufino aqui, boa noite. Opa, peraí, deu algum problema aqui. É. Bom, acho que a intro foi atrasada por algum motivo, mas anyway. Boa noite, André Rufino aqui é o segundo programa do Rufus Show. Um segundo. E hoje nós vamos entrevistar o Gabriel, tá? O Gabriel, certo? Que é um canadense aí, que ele já fundou uma cidade libertária ou uma comunidade libertária lá no Chile, um projeto muito bacana. E ele já está trabalhando no próximo, né? Que vai para o Canadá. E ele é uma pessoa aí, um libertário canadense interessante. Eu acho que pode ser muito bacana aí essa entrevista, que vai ser em inglês. Depois a gente vai soltar aí uns cortes legendados aí, tá? Para quem não fala inglês. Todas as nossas entrevistas em inglês e espanhol que ainda vão ter, vão ser todas legendadas e vão ter vários cortes. Então, hey Gabriel, good night man, how are you doing? I'm fine, man. So today we're gonna talk about your last project on Chile, right? Like a libertarian community that you created, sort of, yeah, and and the future of your project. So to begin, speak a little bit about yourself. Where you're from? What are you doing? Where are you at the moment? Be free. Yeah, right.
I volunteered there, and
Gabriel, just a second, man. We have some technical difficulties. Can you introduce yourself again and tell a little bit about your history? Now
Sure.
it's fixed and you're working properly. Sorry about that.
Okay, starting over.
Yeah.
Action.
Action.
All right, so in 2013, I was living in Vancouver, Canada, and my friends and I installed the world's first Bitcoin ATM. It was a fantastic time. The price was rising. Everybody was excited. We were getting businesses to accept Bitcoin. And then I heard about this real estate development project down in Chile that was accepting Bitcoin for land. So I thought, wow, that's where all the cool kids are going to be. So I sold all my stuff and I moved down to Chile and I found this project and I said, you know what? I don't know what you need, but I'm here to help in any way possible. Just put me to work.
Nice.
And their IT guy had just quit. So they asked me if I knew how to run a website and social media and stuff. And I said, yeah, sure, throw me in there. So they put me in the sales office and I was the front-facing person that had to deal with all of the customers and stuff. So I very quickly started to encounter a lot of very pissed off customers that were not getting what they were promised, and they had a lot of concerns. And within about 3 months or so, it became very clear that the whole thing was a scam that was selling lots that they did not have the legal right to sell because the subdivisions weren't done, and the whole area was environmentally protected, and it was just a shit show from top to bottom. So that all fell apart, and it was very disappointing to everybody that was involved. And I essentially had to make a choice. What do I do now? You know, do I go back to Canada and just consider this all some strange adventure?
I have the same problem, Gabriel. I was starting a project here in Brazil. It's like a libertarian community based on eco technologies and permaculture and a lot of nice stuff that I love to work with. and some scammers destroy our project. Like, was really really bad, and they were libertarians. Like, so yeah. But continue, please.
It's easy for them to claim that they are and put on a good show, but you really have to be careful. So at that point, some friends had been watching from a long distance, and they called me up and said, "It looks like you could use some help down there." And basically what happened was 3 of my friends came down, and we got together, and we said, "You know what? This was such a good idea. It's such a shame that it failed and that it turned out to be not what it was claimed to be. But there's no reason why we can't do the same thing, just on a smaller scale, right?" Because there was a market there for it. We didn't know really how big it was, but we knew that there were some people that were interested and that were excited about doing something like this down here. So we said, okay, well, let's just go back to the drawing board, start fresh, find a new location, and do it right. So we didn't really have any money to work with, but we just did it in such a way that we put our concept out, we put ideas out, and we gathered members one at a time, people that wanted to join the effort and contribute. So doing it that way is very slow, but it does allow you to start with nothing and build yourself up, because this was our first project. We had no experience. We had no background.
Start small, right? Is the best.
Yeah,
the best
exactly. Start small and don't take too much of a risk all at once. Build up trust, because these people really didn't have any reason to trust us. We had no established reputation. We had to build that up over time. So this project did take a long time. It was very slow moving, but it did allow us to make steady progress and build up that trust and build up a good community of people. And the downside to doing it that way is that, as I said, it does take a lot of time. And during that time, conditions can change. And in Chile, they definitely changed.
Yeah, politically and economically, right?
Yes. So when we first started working, conditions were quite favorable. It was very nice and peaceful. And I mean, there's things about the culture that I can complain about, but that's every place has, every place has their own problems. But for the most part, it was a good location that we found down in the south of Chile.
Chile is a nice country, like the most developed country on Latin America, right?
Yeah, and we found a great spot on the coast in the rainforest. It was beautiful. So we went to work, and we did get to the point where we had our first big building, the exterior, finished. And we were just between the phases of finishing the exterior and starting to work on the interior. And this was in late 2019 when the riots broke out in Chile. And everything changed very quickly. All of a sudden, the security situation became completely different, because up until that point, things had been safe. We hadn't had any problems. We weren't worried. But then all of a sudden, we woke up in the middle of the night and we were ambushed by communists and tied up and robbed and everything. And so
really,
we had
by
to start.
Communists, but really,
oh yeah,
not bandits, not like average.
Oh. Well, they were bandits, but they were using their politics as a justification.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah.
This is top bottom for Chile.
Yeah. So all of a sudden we had to start taking security very seriously, and it became very difficult as the riots got worse and worse, and Chile, Santiago was burned out, and
they burn and destroy the church with cats, with dozens of live cats inside. That's the fucking Marxists,
Yeah, they burned down whole buildings. The Crown Plaza that used to have so many great musical instrument stores in it and stuff, that was all just completely burned out. The entire metro system was burned out.
Really?
Entire
to the point that is like unusable?
Yeah. Like every metro station destroyed.
Yeah, that's the Marxists over there. They just destroy, kill, and rob. That's what they do, right?
Yeah.
And lie,
And of course, it doesn't make any sense when you try to align it with their stated goals and proposals and stuff, because they're always talking about, taking from the rich to help the poor and stuff. But who uses the metro? It's not the rich.
And destroying something will not help the poor in any way, shape, or form, right?
You're hurting the poor. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, the whole thing was a mess, and it became very difficult for us to sell the project as being family friendly.
It's in the middle of the communist revolution on the fucking
yeah. So now it's like, okay, the only way we can sell this is if we turn it into like a safari where you come down to shoot commies.
But that's good. I can pay for that. Yeah. I can pay big money for that.
The problem is that so many people had already bought in with the old idea of it being a family-friendly community and stuff. So ultimately, we just had to tighten it down and protect it for as long as we could. And then, of course, the pandemic came along, and the government used the pandemic as a pretext for stomping down on the riots. But it was so draconian. The past year, I haven't been able to leave the house without signing and asking permission from the cops every time. And every time we do that...
That's dystopian, man.
Yeah, like if you want to leave the house to go buy groceries here, you've got to go online to the police website, fill out an application form, send it in, and then they give you permission that lasts for 2 hours. And you can only get 2 of them per week. So it's like, okay, how long is this going to last? So we thought, okay, let's just wait it out. Let's be patient. This can't last forever. But a year and a half went by, and we're still waiting, and it's still getting worse. Just last month, they started the travel ban, so international travel is banned, and we're not even allowed to leave the country now unless we promise that it's only a one-way trip. So there's no way that we can keep promoting this project and selling it to people under these conditions, especially if we don't know when it's going to stop and turn around. And during this 1 year, the Constitution was thrown out, and they've had a year to draft a new Constitution. And of course, it's the leftists that have been demanding this the whole time.
The Marxists, not just the leftists.
The Marxists. Yeah. Hardcore. Yeah. And during the process of writing the Constitution, the riots have continued. Not so extreme that the police are justified in crushing it, but just enough that it's a reminder, a constant reminder that if you don't give us the Constitution we want, the country is doomed.
Yeah.
So I finally had to just make the decision, like, I'm wasting my time down here. We're all wasting our time and our capital. We could be going somewhere else and doing this much more efficiently and much more productively. So that's what we have to do now. It's not 100% official yet, but it's pretty much certain that we're just going to list the property for sale. There's a lot of people in Santiago that are moving down to the south trying to escape the craziness. So
have an opportunity to get some cash back?
Yeah, we'll try to just get as much back as we can and move to more a peaceful place that we can do this properly.
And how is the Chile currency at this time?
I haven't noticed a huge swing, but of course I'm always comparing it to the US, so if they're falling at the same rate, you won't notice.
That's the thing about all currencies in the world. They are all falling the same rate. They just try to equalize the same rate for everyone, the inflation rate, but everyone is inflating like hell. And our the economy of the world is doomed. Right. And tell me a little bit what you constructed on Chile, what you guys accomplished there. Like, okay, your plan got destroyed, some sort of, at least this strategy by the communist revolution. But what you guys accomplished there?
I consider it an education. It was like a practice phase. Some people go deeply into debt to go to university for 6 or 7 years, and then at the end of that, they have a huge debt that they have to work off and everything. But I just look at it as I spent that same time getting work experience.
Yeah.
So now we can take the skills and the contacts and everything that we've developed during this project and go somewhere else and put it to work. And I think it'll be worthwhile in the end. I don't see it as a loss, really. It's just turning things around.
It's part of being an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
You have to fail a little bit so you can succeed, right? Someday.
You have to find out what doesn't work so that you know what does work.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's it. And now your next move, you're thinking about investing on Canada and creating a libertarian community over there.
Right. So when I first started out in all this craziness, I was kind of working with the idea that you should go where you're most welcome, to where things are most free, where you can operate most freely. And to do that, you have to research the laws and find, where has low taxes, where has low barriers of entry, stuff like that.
Sure.
But I've kind of shifted my perspective, and I'm now operating with the idea that you should go where you can work and be the most productive, and basically where you can be you the best,
Sure, yeah. You don't have to adapt so much, right?
Right, and it's going to be different for everyone because everyone has their different strengths and their different weaknesses. They have different assets, different liabilities. So you have to find for yourself where you can operate best. And for me, that's where I come from. I'm a citizen of Canada, so I already have the citizenship. I can do everything there. I don't have to worry about banking. It's because like down here in Chile, I couldn't do anything properly. They have these bullshit bank accounts for foreigners that they give you that have a limit of how much activity you can do per month.
No, that's so ridiculous. That's an anti-free market.
Yeah, it was stupid. And there's all these little barriers that you run into as a foreigner going through the immigration process and all that stuff. Whereas if I just go back to where I came from, I don't have to deal with any of that shit.
Yeah.
And I know the culture, I know the language perfectly, I know how to network with the people, right? I'm a rock star when I go back to my stomping grounds, where I grew up, and I know everyone and I know how things work.
You're not a foreigner, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's another thing, because like down here in Chile, everyone's...
You're the gringo, right?
Yeah, I'm probably some CIA plant or something that's trying to mess with the country or something.
Yeah. You can be fucking stabbed by this communist thinking that you're a CIA asset, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I'm still waiting on that CIA paycheck,
At least, man. At least.
Yeah.
We are undermining communism here, CIA. Come on, right. Help us out.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's my new perspective now, is to just go back and not have to deal with any of this nonsense and go where I can operate most efficiently.
Nice. And tell me about your project on Canada. What are you thinking? Because the information that I got from you is that the place in winter is going to be like crazy cold, like really, really cold, like something
It's
like
Canada, yeah. Yeah, so in the winter, it's normal for it to be like -20, -30. In extreme cases, sometimes you'll even experience -40, but that's rare. But anyway, it's still much colder than anyone from South America would ever want to deal with. Or
no, I want to live in Alaska and Canada for a while to experience that for sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
So, in terms of the marketing, I'm not really targeting foreigners this time. I'm not looking to make it a big international community. Like if foreigners want to come and go through immigration and deal with the winters and stuff, fine. But I'm not going to expect that from people, because that's something else I learned down in Chile, was that appealing to people and trying to convince them to do what I did, immigrate to a new country where they don't know the language, they don't know the culture, and try to integrate. And so that's a tall order. That's asking a lot from people.
Yeah.
Most people don't want to do that. They have roots, they have friends, they have family, they have businesses. They don't want to just leave it all and go somewhere strange. So my marketing is going to be to other Canadians that are in other parts of the country that are much crazier, because Canada is a huge country and it's not all the same. The West, where I'm going to be working, is much more sensible. I don't know if you're familiar with Jordan Peterson, but
Oh
that's
yeah, no,
okay.
I love him.
Okay, so this is the part of Canada that he's from. It's very clear-headed.
Alberta, no?
He's from Alberta, and Saskatchewan is right next door. Yeah. And so anyway, out east in Canada, in Quebec and Ontario, it's much worse. The lockdown measures are very bad there, and the government is crazy. There's a whole bunch of socialists out there and stuff. But there are some good people that feel trapped, and they feel like, wow, this is all turning into a police state, and I don't have friends around me and stuff that I can count on. So the main marketing push is to those people, saying, you know, guys, you got to come out here. You got to come join the party. Come find your tribe. You know, come live in a sensible community that's not going to persecute you for just being you. You know.
Yeah, right. For defending liberty, yeah, the crime of defending liberty.
We're not going to force you to wear a mask when you're, you know, just walking around and stuff. It is just common sense stuff. And so I think there's a very hot market for that right now. And there's also a Western separatist movement. So because of how the East has been alienating the West, there are new political parties that have sprung up very quickly that are making a lot of progress towards breaking away from the rest of Canada. And I think we have a good shot at achieving that within the next 10 years or so. So if I can play some role in that progress, then that would be great fun.
Right. No, I think you have a role on this. I think you're creating something new and something incredible. And I'm going to ask you about, like, what is your inspiration, right, to create this? Was like reading Atlas Shrugged and the Gout Valley, like me?
Yeah. Originally, yes. There's a problem with that, though. And that is that in Atlas Shrugged, Galt's Gulch was protected. It had a shield that made it invisible to the rest of the country, to the enemies that would destroy it if they knew about it. And they also had a free energy system that provided all of their needs. Those two things, as far as I know, are still in the realm of magic.
Yeah. And they will be for a long, long time.
Yeah, and so that's kind of a big problem.
Yeah.
Because in order for Galt's Gulch to succeed, it requires that isolation. So I don't think it's a feasible strategy. So instead, I'm just and also when you start proposing something like that, it sounds weird to most people. Like, unless they're big fans of Ayn Rand or something, which I know, you know, it to the average person, it sounds like you're a weirdo starting a cult or something, you know. So keeping all that in mind, I just thought, you know what are some examples of something that's close to this, so that's at least moving in the right direction, that there is some precedence for. And I looked at company towns. So throughout history, you see big companies like Hershey Chocolates or Disney or mining companies and stuff. They create their own towns for their employees.
Right.
So the company owns all the property, and they provide everything that the employees want in the town. Housing, they rent it, and they take the rent out of the paychecks from the employees and stuff. And just everything is built to provide a good environment for the employees and their families. And with that sort of a structure, you get to control everything that really has an impact on your daily life. And so when I started reading the Municipality Act, that is the law in Saskatchewan that outlines what the duties of towns are, I realized that it was originally designed to give a lot of power and a lot of responsibility to the local level of government. It was not meant to be this situation where the national police are controlling the whole country. Right. Now, in Canada, that is sort of how it is now. The RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, they have departments in most towns, in most cities across the whole country. And everyone assumes that those are the cops and that there's no alternative to that. But when you read the Municipality Act, it says that the municipality, that is the village, town, or city, they have the responsibility for providing police services. One way that they can fulfill that obligation is by contracting out to the RCMP. So that's what most towns do because it's easiest. But that's not what they were intended to do. What they were intended to do is to just create their own police department and take care of their own problems, you know?
No, that's really nice, because I have a perspective on founding libertarian cities, sort of, or communities. That is, we cannot anarchist community is illegal, right? It's strictly illegal. So what is the best option for us? Like the most free we can get, like being in a legal spectrum, right? That's my perspective. I think is the only way to start, really. And then you fight like the political and the legal and the judicial fights, and start to improve the freedom of that community. But the thing is, the best strategy for me is just create the safest and freest community you can, according to law, right? Using all the gaps in the law, because the law has a lot of gaps to destroy our liberty. But you can use the same gas to get some liberty. In Brazil, we have the same thing, because like in Brazil, the laws are really crazy and contradictory, like really made by people that are really ignorant. But that's a bad thing for liberty, and a good thing, because we have gaps that we can't explore, because the law was made by ignorant people that trying to enslave us, but they are so stupid they cannot make the right laws to do it. So I think like the best way, like I told you, to create a city or a libertarian city is not like to go straight to anarchy in a legal manner, right? It's just to use the legal system in your favor to get like the freest city you can have, right? And start from there.
Yeah. And then once you've established that and you create a success out of it, you can scale up. If you want to run
validated hypothesis, right?
Right. You can then run for office at higher levels and try to, sell the concept to more people at, the provincial level or the federal level. If you try to skip steps and skip ahead to just running for prime minister, then you run into the problem of everyone needs to see an example of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
No one wants to put their
people
faith
don't
in.
have people don't have this capacity to see abstract things. Conceptualize, right? Complex situations like that, right?
They don't want to deal with abstractions or anything like that. They want to see just a concrete example of what you're talking about. And so if you start small and you build that concrete example first, then as you scale up and as you talk to larger audiences, you'll always have that to point at, say, this is what I did back here. See, it's actually not that complicated. All I'm saying is we can do this same thing at a larger scale. So I think in the long run, we can do that, but we have to start small first. And there's a lot that we can do on a small scale. For instance, when you incorporate as a village, you only need 300 people. You need 150 houses to qualify. At that level, you can create your own police. You can set your own property tax rate at 0%. That's huge.
That's a new start. That's a good start,
Yeah. And you can control your own zoning laws. So, like most people complain about how in cities, they don't allow you to build the kinds of things that you want to build. Like some people want to build tiny houses and stuff, and the law doesn't let them. And well, with this, blank slate, build whatever you want. Just, you have all kinds of flexibility to demonstrate concepts. And then as you scale up, you'll have more to work with. But there's a lot that you can do on a small scale. And when you have your own police that are made up of your own friends, that actually live around you and know you personally and stuff, and have the same mindset, then the prime minister in Ottawa can pass all kinds of stupid laws. They don't have to affect you.
And the police will not enforce that, right?
Exactly.
Necessarily.
Exactly. And
that's
the mayor,
a good idea.
Yeah, because the mayor of the town controls who the chief of police is, and the chief of police controls his cops. So as long as the mayor is consistent with his principles and makes sure that the chief of police follows suit, then you got nothing to worry about.
That's really nice, man. Yeah, because you guys have better laws than Brazil. We don't have. We cannot create a community and have our own police. Like that would be
Are you,
really really hard. Yeah, in
are
Brazil.
you sure about that?
I'm not 100% sure.
Mm.
Maybe it's possible, but it's really hard to convince like the
Because
politicians to accept that.
I didn't realize it either until I did a lot of digging, and I had to actually read through the law to figure out what was
Yeah,
possible
we
and what,
can create.
what was not.
Yeah, I'm studying to create a new municipality here in the place where I live. There's like only private condominiums, and I want to transform that in a new municipality, right?
Mhm.
And then you can create a new police station, new health thing, and schools, and you are obligated to. But the thing
Right.
is, you can create, right? But these police officers will come from the governor, right, from the
Oh, okay.
state. So okay, you can create, but the cops will come from outside, and they will just obey outside orders, right? You don't have
Oh, okay.
any that I'm sure, right? There is
Wow.
really centralized. The police is really centralized. It's a
Hmm.
militarized police, right
I
here,
see. I see. Okay.
and yeah, and they are like their own
That,
thing, right?
that's a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, and Brazil and in São Paulo state, we have
Mm.
more cops than the entire army of Brazil and all the cops from other states combined.
Wow.
We have like the fourth largest army in the world is the military
Sao
police
Paulo
of São
police.
Paulo. Yeah, that's why
Wow.
it's safe because São Paulo is safe. Like the state of São Paulo is quite safe,
Yeah.
and the city of São Paulo, like the developed part that lives more than 8 million people, it is safe. You don't have kidnaps, murders like every day, every
Okay.
time. Yeah, it's not like Mexico or Venezuela or place like that. There
Mm.
is some peripheral areas that are really dangerous, but they are like outside this place, right? They
Right.
are marginalized, and they have like so the police here is really really tough. They kill like easily, right?
Hmm.
Criminals and shit, and they keep the criminals at bay. But we know that this is not the best strategy because they are spending
Hmm.
a lot of São Paulo's money doing that. And if you decriminalize the drugs, you can solve this problem like in a cheap, very cheap way. But that's
Mm.
other discussions, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, here we have this militarized police, and they are like independent from our municipality. They just follow what the governor of São Paulo says, right?
Mm.
But nice to know that Canada is not like that. At least you guys have the option to create like an
This is
independent police, right?
Yeah, and this is the other thing is the population. I mean, Canada, if you include the water, it's the biggest country in the world. If you
Really?
don't, yeah, if you don't include the water, then Russia is technically still larger. But
I
our
didn't know
population,
that. I know that Canada is huge, but the thing is most of the land is inhabitable, right?
it's cold. It's crazy cold, and so most of the people live down close to the U.S. border. And I mean, the total population of the country is like 30 million.
30
It's
million, yeah. In my city we have 22. In my city we have 22 million. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So your city is slightly smaller than the entire country of Canada. And Saskatchewan, the province, physically is larger than California, but its population is 1 million.
Damn.
1 million.
Yeah. People are
So,
dispersed, right?
right. So inertia is very different there. In the US or some other country with more population and more money and everything, it's very hard to make a radical change without some kind of crazy, like apocalyptic civil
Yeah.
war kind of situation. But when the population,
Megadeth situation, right?
yeah, but everything in Canada is 1/10 the size of the US. So any budgets, any groups.
It's easy to be overrun by
It's easier to make
socialists.
changes.
Yeah, but it's easier to make changes for the better or the worse, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing, is that Canadians are very spoiled. They're used to things being good, and they're used to comfort. They don't have any experience of hardship, really. There's no neighboring hostile power that threatens them or anything like that. They've got ocean all around and
the
the U.S. to the south.
and
It's a luxury.
in the Second World War, Canadians were really tough. They were like great
Yeah.
fighters. They were heroes on that war, right?
Yeah, back when they actually had challenges. But in recent history, there haven't been any challenges, so they've gotten soft and complacent, and they've slid into socialism more. So there's a lot of inertia towards socialism, but in the West, the culture has resisted that. So I think the best shot is to work at creating a split between the East and West, and let the socialists have the East. Let them screw it all up.
In Brazil, I proposed the same solution. I called it the Koreanization of Brazil. Like north of Brazil is not developed at all, and they want communism. They really want communism, like 80%.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, and and they are like not 80, but at least 70. It used to be 90. Now it's because of Bolsonaro, it's like 70, right?
Wow.
Yeah, but the thing is, they want communism, and we in the South, we want free market. Like the people from South and Southwest of Brazil, the people want free market. The thing is, we are colonized every day by the people from the North, so they bring their communist ideas and the communist votes here, and they like corrupt our entire system with socialism and communism, right? But the thing is, for me, the solution is, man, you guys want to live in communism and we want to live in free market. So let's fucking create Brazilian of the North and Brazilian of the South and see who does best, right? Let's create a big wall separating us, because we don't want to be overrun by starving people from your communist system. But okay, man, you guys have the freedom to be communist. We have the freedom to be free markets. But the thing is, they will never accept it.
Of course.
They will never accept that we be free and implement a free market system. I think that Canada, maybe you guys are going to have the same problem. Like, no free market for you, no freedom for you. It's communism for everyone. That's like the globalist idea, right?
Yeah. Well, back in 1995, the province of Quebec almost succeeded at separating. That they had a vote in the province that was 51-49, and if it had been 1.5% more, Quebec would have succeeded at breaking away. And in that process, they established the precedent. And so there is a legal framework now to make it simpler for any other province that wants to do that too. So I think as long as we just stick to it, there's a good shot.
You have a good plan, man. You have a good plan, and I will help you. If I can, I will go there. Maybe I can even move. I don't know if Europeans are easier to migrate to Canada than Brazilians. I don't know that, because I have the European passport too.
There's a lot of different pathways. There's no one solution that fits everyone perfectly. You have to kind of figure out your own specific situation and find out what works best for you.
But I would love like to live in even though this is really cold, for me, it's not a problem. I like to chop wood and plant and.
Well, we also are cooperating with the Free Private Cities Foundation. And they are working on several new community projects in Honduras. And so the idea is that we work in parallel with each other. And as I develop my settlement and they develop their settlement, the people that move into them can easily move back and forth between them. Because when it's winter in Canada, the weather is still nice down in Honduras. So people...
And we can start one here in Brazil too, man. We have this possibility. Like, it's not going to be anarchy, like we said. But it's gonna be better than most communities. I can assure that. And I have 15 years of research on that matter, mainly
Oh,
on
good.
ecological production and
Mm-hmm.
agriculture, and biointensive gardening is like what I love to do, and I experiment every day here in my home.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm like self-sustained here. I can produce my own energy. I produce my own water. I produce my own food. Like I can live only of my land, and it's only 2 square kilometers. So
Good. Yeah.
yeah, and but nice to hear, man, from your project. And what's the next step now for your community on Canada?
Well, I'm just closing up things here in Chile and moving up there and going through the immigration process with my girlfriend and my daughter.
Your
And
girlfriend
then,
is from Chile, right?
no, she's from
No?
California.
Oh, she's from California. I thought
Yep.
you met her in your project. Okay.
Yeah.
And
So then we just get set up at the new property in Saskatchewan, and we got to keep working hard for the rest of the year. Lots to do.
nice, man. Nice to see. So yeah, that I think that was a really good interview. A lot of good information about your projects and what's happening in Chile and then what's happening a little bit on Canada. I want to thank you for being here,
Yeah, it's fun.
and yeah, it was really fun. And let's meet again to see what's happening, how it's developing,
Yeah.
and we can debate some ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really good, man. And thank you, okay, for for the interview, and have a good night. Valeu, gente. Obrigado aí. Acho que ele caiu ali sem querer, mas tamo junto aí. O que eu falei, depois a gente vai legendar esses cortes, tá bom? E as partes mais interessantes aí vocês vão poder ver com legendas em português. Valeu, gente. Obrigado.